Hello, my name is William Scott III.
Hi, I'm actually Will Scott.
I'm also Will Scott.
I'm Patrick Furlong, and this is our video project.
One of the most talked about topics in global news over the past few months is the Syrian refugee crisis. This crisis stemmed from civil war torn Syria. In 2011, the arrest and suspected torture of 15 school children sparked protests in the city of Daraa. These protests unveiled Syrians' underlying desires for democracy and more individual freedom. Tension increased even more when Syrian army officials opened fire on protesters, killing 4. Things spiraled downward ever since. Many Syrians demanded that President Bashar al-Assad step down, but due to his refusal, social unrest is now the norm. To escape conflict, millions of Syrians uprooted, traveling to both domestic and foreign destinations in hopes of finding a secure place to call home. Away from home, refugees yearn for a sense of community and security. To start the DSRP analysis, first we must separate citizens that still reside in Syria, wandering refugees that do not have a stable home, and documented and vetted refugees that have been accepted into host nations. Host nations are often lumped as a whole, but really should be examined on a more case-by-case basis. Host nations differ in terms of existing acceptance policies, educational opportunities, job openings, and living environments. The safety and efficiency of these environments are key in setting the refugees up for the most success in a foreign nation. The thought of homelessness that refugees often feel is accompanied by a desire for a sense of belonging. When host nations haven't established an effective plan to incorporate refugees are more likely to look to other sources to belong to. It is not uncommon for refugees to be swept up into radical groups. As UCOM correspondents, it is natural that we consider how refugee radicalization affects military stability in Europe and the Middle East, and how it relates to the operations of the United States Army. However, we should also consider the problem from other perspectives. To the host nations, we must understand significant economic and social responsibility they assume by welcoming refugees. And to refugees themselves, we must imagine our home country becoming so hostile we see no other option but to flee.
In order to create an effective needs statement, it is essential to conduct stakeholder analysis with our primary stakeholders, UCOM, President Obama, refugees, and host nation citizens. After examination of each powers and interests, the priority of importance is as follows: UCOM, President Obama, refugees, and host nation citizens. In each stakeholder analysis, we transform the primitive needs into effective needs. Major General Alvin's primitive need is to reduce the radicalization of refugees. After examination of Major General Alvin's goals on UCOM, his effective need is to minimize terrorist organizations' influence. President Obama's primitive need is to decrease tension in host nations. Through examination of his European Reassurance Initiative, his effective needs is to ensure security of host nations. When discussing with refugees, their primitive need is to survive, but after meeting this, after physiological needs are met, it is essential to provide opportunities for development socially and economically. After conducting stakeholder analysis, we are now able to create a hierarchical value model. Our hierarchical value model is as follows. Our effective needs statement is to allow UCOM to establish a secure and productive environment for the integration of refugees and host nations through DoD operations. In regards to hierarchical functions, we have 3 primary functions: to reduce terrorist organizations' influence, provide societal opportunities, and strengthen security measures. With regards to reducing terrorist organizations' influence, we have 1 value measure: minimize cyber presence of terrorist groups. With regards to providing societal opportunities, we have 3 value measures: maximize educational opportunities, maximize resettlement facilities, and maximize entry-level jobs. With regard to strengthening security measures, we have 2 value measures: minimize tensions between native populations and immigrants, and maximize vetting process effectiveness.
The third step of this project involved the generation of alternate solutions so that we could determine the best solution for integration into use in our final model. We generated 4 proposals, alpha through delta, shown here through the use of Zwicky's morphological box. We included education, financial protection, refugee resettlement, and refugee unemployment reduction categories, and developed a potential solution in each of these areas. Following analysis and research, we determined that we wanted our model to include government-funded public schooling, a monthly government stipend, a mix of refugee camps and local homes as sponsors, and an apprenticeship program to incorporate the refugee population into the workforce as organically as possible. This feasibility matrix shows our estimations for the metrics we wanted for this solution. COA Bravo met the requirements of offering at least 75% of the refugees a government-backed education, a monthly government stipend funded by the European Commission to offset any financial struggles, a housing opportunity for approximately 9/10 of the refugees through the local sponsorship and refugee camp hybrid program, and an unemployment rate beneath 5% for refugees enrolled in an apprenticeship program. This would put the refugees in homes with a hope for education and prospects for a better future, both of which would help reduce refugee radicalization probability. Up next is our cost analysis and life cycle funding estimate.
To create an estimation of cost for the Course of Action Bravo, we analyzed Sweden's fiscal refugee platform that funds all programs that support the integration of refugees. We chose Sweden because it has the highest density of refugees per capita in Europe. This ensures that Sweden's stable and cost-effective fiscal platform is readily transposable to other nations' fiscal programs. As of 2015, Sweden allotted 1.35% of the nation's GDP to these programs, which averages out about 7.4 billion USD per its 466,000 refugees. This correlates to figure 9, the life cycle funding estimation for the 15-year commitment. You can see that after the initial years of establishing the Course of Action's infrastructure, the economic commitment drops from 2.25 billion to under 1 billion USD. Figure 8 illustrates how our proposed program should be broken down per value measure. As you notice, there is a fundamental focus on education. This allows refugees an opportunity to establish their language basis and be able to enter the workforce. This breakdown allows the quickest integration of refugees into their host nation. This is critical because a study by the IMF staff discovered that the average refugee in Europe takes 2 years to become eligible to work due to proper vetting processes, as well as language and cultural adaptation. This allows for decreased government spending as refugee populations become self-sufficient and begin to contribute back into the host nation's economy.
These guys have me convinced. I believe in their project.
Through the tools mentioned throughout the length of this video, we've developed a solution to minimize the risk of refugee radicalization. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon.